there's always that analogy about having faith in the mustard seed. I don't know how many people have really planted anything. So I've planted watermelon, I've planted lemons, I've planted cantaloupe, I've planted soursop. And in my windowsill when I was living in Dallas, I saw all that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man, if you can watch what a small seed, how it germinates and it pushes through the dirt and it breaks the dirt. And then you take it and you transpose it to into the ground and you see how the universe and the ground and nature allows it to flourish.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I've taken on that analogy right now, man, with my life of building a business. I plant a certain seed. I water my seeds with certain actions, right? But then at the same time, I've also noticed the seasons. There's certain things that, are going to happen that I can't control.
Yeah.
But you learn how to adapt, adjust, and embrace.
You all heard that life is a game, but very few of us have a playbook that actually works when the pressure is on. Guest today spent years on the professional football field learning what it takes to perform under the lights, but it was his journey off the field, overcoming displacement by Hurricane Katrina and a battle with cancer at age 28 that truly defined his mission. He's an educational leader, professional speaker, and the mastermind behind F42 Empowerment. Known to many as Coach Frank, he has spent over 2 decades helping individuals and organizations move beyond the edge of their limitations to find their true potential. So whether you're a leader looking to build a team of lifers or an individual tired of sitting on the sidelines of your own life, today's conversation is your winning play. Please welcome to the BRSTEM podcast, the man who teaches us how to create, relate, educate, and empower, Coach Daron Franklin.
All right, Eric, I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for that introduction. And that definitely would bring you along on some of my speaking engagements. Actually, man, I'll be speaking at the Louisiana Association of Student Assistance Program,
Okay.
the SAP, at that conference in Lake
So the Upward
Charlotte.
Bound Trio program.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. I'll be speaking at their conference, man, next week in Lake Charles.
Okay.
If you don't have nothing to do next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. All right.
But no, man, I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here.
Okay.
Continue to share with people and in the Baton Rouge and South Louisiana area.
All right. So look, before we dig in, because I've been doing some research on you, and you on that reaching that stratosphere, brother. So, but before we dig into like where you're going with F42 Empowerment, let's kind of dig into more about your background, where you're from, and just your upbringing and things like that, if you don't mind.
Sure, man. I mean, I was born and raised in New Orleans. Obviously, man, we just kind of finished up Mardi Gras and things like that. So I went to the city for the weekend, man, spent time with my lady and my mom and sisters. They came down from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it's always, exciting to go back to the city. But born and raised in Gentilly Woods.
Okay.
Uh,
That's around Dillard.
yeah.
Okay.
Really in the front part of Punch Train Park.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So, just kind of off that Louisa exit, your audience members will kind of get a little landmark there, man. But was really raised by a village. And what I mean by that is being able to see and spend time with both sets of grandparents, not having to make any plans to see uncles and cousins on a weekly and daily basis. Just kind of growing up in New Orleans and all the things that come along with.
So your entire village is from like New Orleans or the New Orleans area?
The entire village is from there, man. So all the things that come with, growing up in the city, attending McDonald 35 High School in the Tremay area, having my first summer job with the mayor's program at the Tremay Center with Tambourine and Fan. And I'm just learning so many things at the age of 15 and being in certain environments and being exposed to certain things has definitely helped me to be the man that I am now.
So talk about that exposure piece.
So I'll tell you what, man, my mom and my dad did an awesome job, number one, at home of exposing both, all three of my sisters and myself to just different things. My mom always talked about making sure you have options. My dad, man, he showed me as far as work ethic, and being able to, be a guy who was in the military. He took us to Biloxi and Gulfport sometimes for drill. I remember those types of things. And then my mom being an educator, and she took her class. She was a science teacher, and she took her class at Booker T. Washington High School to Copendry, Louisiana. And we got on a boat, man, and we did some marine scientific
Okay.
experiments and things of that nature. Being able to be exposed to different things outside of New Orleans,
Hmm.
right, gave me an opportunity to have not only just sight of what's in front of me, but also start developing that vision
Okay.
of what was going to go forth and beyond.
Okay. Now, so I guess like, what was your mom being a science teacher?
Uh,
I won't make the assumptions. What was your favorite subject like in high school?
so my favorite subject was math.
Okay.
Hence, I got into education as a math teacher. Now I feel like I'm the best algebra one teacher on the planet, right? Now, unfortunately, I tell people you haven't. Some people say, "Well, I didn't like math." I say, "Well, you just ain't been to Coach Frank class."
Okay.
Now I'm not teaching and coaching football anymore. I've hung up the whistle and I've stepped outside the classroom. But, um, with her teaching science, and then I also saw the different schools that she was at. She taught at Warren Easton. She taught at Priestley, which was the alternative school.
Okay.
And majority of her time was at, like I said, Booker T. Washington High School, Uptown. Just seeing my mom, man, not only be an educator, but be a person in the community that was impactful. And then just the way that she cared about our kids, because they all came from different walks of life.
So man, okay. I know you know this,
Mhm.
having moved around a little bit, and we'll get to Hurricane Katrina in a minute. So my only experience going to New Orleans growing up was for Bayou Classic,
Okay.
and then my mom had a first cousin that lived in Kenner.
Okay.
So we go visit them.
Yeah.
Anyway, had other extended relatives, but like that's my memories growing up is Bayou Classic and going to Althea Thompson house.
Okay.
Thanksgiving weekend or different things like that.
Yep.
Then I guess around Hurricane Katrina and then things like that, from a media perspective, there's like this perception about the city.
All right.
And if we talk about Hurricane Katrina and everything that happened in there, and I was sharing this with somebody recently how so I've been involved in a few different things, and so I've had the chance to sit at certain tables,
Hmm.
and I can recall conversations back then, um, and I'll just put it frankly as I can, man, like this plot to take over the city.
Okay.
So everything was in a wreck. And part of the conflict between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is like all the resources from the state that would
Okay.
always go to New Orleans. And so, I remember sitting in rooms and conversations about like this is our opportunity, i.e. Baton Rouge leadership,
Mm.
to, to kind of take over. So there's that one thing. And then which you've been an educator, your mom been an educator. I also sat in conversations about, kind of dismantling or rebuilding of the education system there.
Hmm.
And so what specifically I brought up to somebody recently was, so we work in a few schools here in the Baton Rouge community. And it was interesting because it's always, I always hear this negative connotation about the educators that would let go during Hurricane Katrina. And what was interesting, two of the schools that we work in, those principals are from New Orleans, still got 504 area codes. And so, like, kind of growing up in that situation and having a mom that's an educator, like, what has always been your impression of educators from the city?
Well, my impression, man, I can speak on obviously, like I talked about with my mom, but then also, I think about, going to school at WCC Claiborne.
Okay,
I was, I'm 45 years old. So I went to elementary in the 80s,
okay,
early 90s. It's kind of a diverse setting. Mr. Batiste was our principal, and I believe he was from, I think he had an Asian or Samoan background,
okay,
right? So it was some diversity in there, and our teachers really care for us from a sense of making sure that you learn how to think, you gain information, you learn how to think, but you also acquire social skills,
yeah,
right? So that was a standard. It was a magnet school, right? And then I went to PGT Beauregard on Canal Boulevard. Now, this school, everybody could come from all over the city.
uh-huh,
So I was there with students from neighborhoods from Holly Grove, Uptown, the East, and the Gentilly area. But again, our teachers had a certain standard for us because they knew that once you left Beauregard, you were going to go to certain high schools.
Yeah.
Most of us we either went to 35, Easton, Ben Franklin, or Kennedy. So as far as for my primary years, I thought I had excellent educators.
Okay.
You know, I had a couple male teachers, African American male teachers in elementary and in middle school. I could tell you this, and if some people who some audience members, if they have attended Beauregard, man, Mr. Covan was a math teacher. He challenged us every day to do mental math. So what was he doing? He was teaching us how to use our brain,
Yeah.
right? And think. He was a sarcastic kind of guy. That was his style, but he knew that he could stretch us. And I'm talking about, like, seriously, man, like we did mental math, like you couldn't use no calculator, you couldn't use no paper, pencil, and it was a competition. Now I put that kind of into my teaching
Yeah.
also, right?
Okay.
And then going on to 35, man, was just an experience that uh, I'll just say this: it was an experience of excellence as a standard, and you understanding that whenever you put on that khaki uniform, or those young ladies had on those blouses and those
Uh-huh.
plaid with maroon in it, you were expected to be yourself, but at the same time, if you're having conversations with people, if you're asked different things, you were asked. There was a standard of intelligence that you were asked to display. So to answer your question, the educators that I've been around that impacted me were phenomenal people. Now, can I say I've worked with the same type of people in different settings in New Orleans and even in Texas?
Yeah.
No. I mean, anybody knows that's leading the organization, man. And I was able to find this out as a two-time head coach. 20% of the people most times will do 80%
Yeah.
of the work.
So so you went to Langston for college?
With the Langston University for college, man.
How you end up there?
So Langston was one of the best things for me. I was able to get an academic and athletic
Okay.
scholarship. So every year at the end of the semester, I used to get some money back. And especially when I found out I could buy used books. And then some classes I found out I don't need the book, right? But how did I wind up there, man? Real quick story. Was kind of going through the recruiting process, football wise, and I could have walked on a couple places. But
Okay.
my goal was for not my parents to
Yeah.
have to pay for school. I saw them kind of pay for my older sister. She went to Dillard and graduated in '92, and I just knew for myself I wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
they didn't have to pay.
What position you played?
I played DB.
Okay.
Played free safety, man, at McDonald 35. And what happened was my good friend Gerald Campbell, and he has a direct story to F42 Empowerment. They came to recruit him. He was a quarterback at Douglas High School in the
Okay.
Ninth Ward. Coach Al Jones was his coach, and Coach Al told him about me at 35 because I played very well against them for 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And they wound up recruiting both of us, man. We're brothers. We always played against each other in basketball and football. But we went up to Langston together, met some other guys from New Orleans and Louisiana. And I tell people this all the time, Eric, even when I'm speaking on stages, man. Langston exposed me again
Okay.
to something outside of New Orleans, right? My parents did the best job that they could in the village also. But man, I didn't know everybody didn't eat red beans and rice on Monday. Didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know what white gravy was on biscuit. I was like, man, what they doing?
You eating that number?
No, I don't eat
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I didn't eat that then. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is just, and even for your audience that are young people, we have so many traditions, man, here
Yeah.
in South Louisiana
Yep.
that are ingrained in us, which is awesome, right? But also, as I share with young people when I'm speaking at schools, and even when I'm speaking to educational leaders or even business leaders or organization leaders, it's our job, man, to make sure that what they see in front of them, their sight, is not the only thing
Yeah.
they see. That we have to be able to expose them to different things, and especially now, man, in the information world.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because I talk to kids about that a lot. A lot of times, I know in my experience, a lot of the kids that I'm working with, they really don't see outside their neighborhood. And so, there's a lot of challenges that go on with that. As a society, like we got to decide if we're going to try to deal with it or not. And
Mhm.
again, there's some great things in our communities and stuff, but I think, we want to take the cap off our kids and let them see that, there's a huge world out there.
Yeah.
And that is one of the benefits of, kids going to college. I think a lot of times I talk to people about the fact that too many of the kids that I deal with, their only exposure right now to college, especially, from elementary school to maybe middle school, their only exposure um, is sports. Like that's
Mhm.
all they know about football. And then, in Baton Rouge, the majority of kids going to know about LSU
Mhm.
because they're on TV all the time and, they're everywhere. And so I think that exposure piece is really important. Um, so let's switch gears slightly. Talk to me about how you made that transition or what drove that transition from being a coach slash educator to moving out into this space in the business world.
It kinda goes back to what you just mentioned, almost kinda getting out of our comfort zone, right? Because that's the thing I found out about being from Louisiana, especially Southern Louisiana. Because we're so stronghold, man, on our traditions, sometimes it's uncomfortable for us to go other places and live
Okay.
because they don't have what we have available to us, right? From the hospitality, the food, to the people, and that's a stronghold on some. Well, I kinda had that mind frame also, man, when I was teaching and coaching for over 20 years. Now, Eric, you need to understand, I was already a business major at Langston
Okay.
University, right? So I was a business and finance major, and I got into coaching. I'll back up. I did my internship at Walgreens in Kenner
Okay.
on Williams and Esplanade, and, I remember, man, that summer, I was, counting the different Tylenols that they put on the casing. I was like, "Nah, this ain't for me."
So
So
you were like an intern for like a management position?
yes,
Okay. All right.
because I went to school for organizational management and finance. And then I was also chasing the dream of still trying to play professional football in
Okay.
the NFL, right? Like most kids, okay? Had a chance to play arena football for 2 years, and I did that, just
Who you
stuff.
played for?
I played for the Oklahoma City Yard Dogs and
Okay.
also played for the Houma Bayou Bucks.
Okay. All right.
Bills start happening. I probably could have stayed a little longer. Nobody was pressuring me to do anything, but I felt like I could do more. So I got into coaching because I was trying to stay in shape. But then when those young people came to me every day, like, "Coach, man, can you show me something else? Can you show me this? This worked." You start feeling a sense of gratitude, right? And then I started doing it full time, teaching at Douglas High School in the Ninth Ward, and then at Colton the next year in the same neighborhood. And you start getting that gratification again that you impacting kids. Well, long story short, man, I did that for a while, and I've coached every kind of kid. Like I've been blessed to be on the staff to coach kids like Tyron Matthew, Leonard Fournette, Trey Turner, right? And guys like Buster Davis that played at LSU,
Mhm.
coached at Old Perry Walk. And then I've also been able to coach young men like, Andrew Carter, who's a outside linebackers coach for the Carolina Panthers. Then I've also coached some kids that they contribute their contribution to society now is being a productive citizen.
Yeah.
So I've coached every kind of kid. I've been in the state championship game in Louisiana twice on 2 staffs. Once at Old Perry Walker, we lost to John Curtis, and then at John Everett, we actually lost to Zachary High
Okay.
in 2015. And then I've been a head coach, man, at 2 different places that are rich in football. I've been a head coach at H.L. Bourgeois High School down in Gray, Louisiana, and I've also been a head coach and athletic director at Fort Worth Southwest.
Quick question, because I didn't ask you this. So how'd you end up making a move from Louisiana to Texas?
So when Katrina hit, my mom
Okay.
and sisters were already living out there.
Okay.
Me and my dad and I were living in the house that I grew up in until it was. So I have family, man, here on the in the northern Baton Rouge area on the Plank Road.
Okay.
Franklin's Kendrick Franklin was a big time basketball player. A lot of my cousins went to Northeast,
Okay.
and they live on the Plank Road, right? So my dad was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Baton Rouge and taking my horses with me." My dad was a black cowboy.
Where y'all keeping the horses at in New Orleans? So
So
that's cool.
yeah. So man, I've built hay with my dad since an early age. I learned how to ride. I'm taking care of his horse now up in Jackson.
Jackson,
So
Louisiana?
yeah,
Right, really?
Uh-huh.
That's where we go to church at.
Yeah, man. So that's why I told you I'm gonna be a little short after 9. That's where I was coming from. But nevertheless, my dad always had places that, stables
Okay.
in different sections of New Orleans. They
Okay.
have that. Those horses you see in the Mardi Gras parade,
So that's what I've been told. They're not race horses. They like show
no,
horses.
that's leisure, man.
Okay.
That's what they do. You but my dad, in the east off of Diamond Road,
Okay.
there was a horse stable. So he said, "Listen, man, we're gonna leave." I said, "But Dad, I don't want to leave because I had just left the year before, and it took me 10 hours just to get to Jackson, Louisiana, in that traffic." So he was like, "No, son, we're gonna leave." So I said, "All right, cool. Look, I took me a little duffel bag, man. I'm talking about duffel bag was this small. All I had in it was some Nike Huaraches, a pair of shorts, t-shirt, because I knew I was gonna go to Texas and see the hill. I had been exposed to their rec center,
Okay.
right? New Orleans on the rec center I knew of was Rosenwald uptown. I had never really been to a rec center, but I had been to see my sister in prior,
Okay.
and I knew on the weekends they really hooped there. So I'm like, man, I know I'm gonna go hoop. I'm gonna go to church Sunday, and then I'm gonna come on back. So I only brought a suit and a small duffel bag, not knowing I wouldn't be back home for 2 months. So I wound up staying there for 3 years.
In City Hill?
Yeah, no, not in Cedar Hill, but in the Dallas-Fort Worth
Okay.
area.
All
And
right.
I actually bought a house in the Arlington, Mansfield area. Started a family, man. Unfortunately, I'm divorced now, but started a family there. And actually, Eric, I came back home in 2009.
Okay.
So my journey, man, has kind of taken me growing up in New Orleans, going to Langston University, kind of exposed me to that area, right? Langston, DFW is only
Yeah.
3-4 hours away.
Okay.
And then coming back to New Orleans to impact communities at St. Augustine, at Belle Chase, H.L. Bourgeois, John Eric, and then moving back to Dallas, to the Fort Worth area, Little Elm. So, man, I've been in every type of community you could think of, from rural to affluent, and everything in
Okay.
between.
All right. That's interesting, especially that Jackson piece.
Yeah, and now I live in the rural area, man. I'm a city boy, I live in the country life. I'm learning every day.
So you live in Jackson?
I live in Jackson, man. I'll tell you this.
That
My,
is
my, my dad had about 7 acres of land. My dad passed away in 2020.
okay.
So I'm the only boy, as I mentioned. So once I kind of went through that life-changing divorce aspect of things, I was like, man, and this goes into your original question. I knew that after I had been a head coach at 2 different places like that, coached every kind of kid, been to the highest level, even though I didn't win, I knew I thought I wanted to be a college coach,
Okay.
but I have a lot of friends who are college coaches I've been blessed to be on staff with. And I visit those guys and learn that's not really. So I knew I could do more. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling,
Yeah.
thoughts,
Yeah.
those ideas. Obviously, man, you've got this going on. I took the leap of faith. I knew that 2024, 23, 24 was gonna be my last year teaching and coaching.
Okay.
I wanted to be a facilitator and trainer for organization in learning and development. So I'm like, man, I've been a teacher.
Yeah.
I have those transferable skills. I applied different places on interviews. It didn't work out. So my lady that I'm dating now, man, she said, hey, I always hear you talking to different coaches about what they can do to kind of improve themselves. Have you ever thought about being a public speaker? It took off. The school that I was at, I spoke to multiple sports teams,
Mhm.
and it felt like the anticipation of it, it feels like I'm about to go run out the tunnel to go play a coach.
Gotcha.
And then afterwards, it's like a natural high, you know? So I said, look, man, I know myself, I'm a determined kind of guy, right? That resiliency and growing up in the city and having to do more with less is already built in me, right? So I knew, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna be able to do this and do a full-time job. I took a leap of faith. Well, one thing I'm smart about is I gotta cut down my expenses. So there's no need to keep paying thousands of dollars of rent in the Dallas Fort Worth area when I got a property here in Jackson that I ain't gotta pay for. So once my son graduated, I told him and my daughter, I was like, look, I'm gonna go stay at the ranch. That's what we call it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you this, man. Yesterday, I cut the grass in my garden that I've been getting together. I got to do a better job of building a fence. That's another conversation with the deers eating my stuff and my horse trying to get in there eating my greens. You know what I'm saying? So, I cut the grass in the garden. got up all the pine needles and leaves, horse manure, spread it all out in the garden, raked it out, pulled out the tiller, start tilling up the garden, but then the tiller went out on me. So I'm embracing this new chapter of my life,
Gotcha.
not only with the business, but then also I'm allowing the universe and life to continue to build me so I can be the best person that I can be. And it actually helps me out with my business. And I'll end with this. I share with people a lot when I'm on stage or when I'm doing different seminars. There's always that analogy about having faith in the mustard seed. I don't know how many people have really planted anything,
Or even know how small a mustard seed is.
right? So I've planted watermelon, I've planted lemons, I've planted cantaloupe, I've planted soursop. And in my windowsill when I was living in Dallas, I saw all that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man, if you can watch what a small seed, how it germinates and it pushes through the dirt and it breaks the dirt. And then you take it and you transpose it to into the ground, and you see how the universe and the ground and nature allows it to flourish.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I've taken on that analogy right now, man, with my life of building a business. I plant a certain seed. I water my seeds with certain actions, right? But then at the same time, I've also noticed the seasons. There's certain things that, are going to happen that I can't control.
Yeah.
But you learn how to adapt, adjust, and embrace.
It's interesting, because that's one of the with our STEM program, we have a series called Grow Your Own Food. And so it involves, planting vegetables or fruits. We got several schools that have school gardens, but it also involves the kids being able to raise chickens. So we got a few schools that have chickens at their schools. What you were saying, in agriculture and the life sciences, like there are so many like life lessons. My pastor, he hadn't done it in a while, but he had this thing about how the seed of a thing is in the thing. And it was just interesting. Like as I started planting those, planting gardens and stuff, it's just like I always think back that and laugh about that. And so there's a lot of life lessons and going, and it brings about a calming spirit to you, teaches you patience. You get to like reiterate things, you learn, you do things differently and whatnot. Um, so I actually want to stay on this,
Hmm.
not the metaphorical, but the actual real life piece of it. And because I was going to get on this a little bit later, but you brought it up about your journey.
Hmm.
And so a good friend of mine, the last episode we had, Mr. Marshall, um, we talk, we just talk frequently about how as men, um, like we have to be comfortable with the fact that we might map out a plan coming out of college, and then as we get older, things hit us, things change, and we got to be
Hmm.
able to navigate. Um, and so for you, because you said you went through a divorce, you've been having to move around and stuff and changing careers. So, like, what is this life like? What has life been like, and being able to navigate like these different things that come your way, and having to move around and
Yeah.
adjust?
Man, I'll tell you this, life, I've been very grateful about life, honestly. I've always, you know, I've always had, man, what I needed and majority of the things that I want,
Okay.
to be honest with you. Now, I can say this, I've always been encouraged. I've always had positive people around me.
Yeah.
I've always been supported. But I've also been taught, like, hey, man, you got to work for what you want. And you really got to go get it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you hear people talk about getting things out the mud and this and that. I don't say that kind of stuff because every man's journey is different. And you don't know what people are
Yeah.
dealing with, right? But I know for myself, man, once I learned around, my early 30s, man, I can only control what I can
Yeah.
control. I started using that as the principle of life. So for me, and especially in these last 3 years, after going through that life changing event, I know that I've gotten more mature, gained some wisdom, and honestly, Eric, I'm very intentional about working on myself
Yeah.
from a positive aspect. Like, I'll tell you this, man. I go to the gym in the mornings. I'll either do some walking lunges right on the street
Uh-huh.
where I live at, or when I get to the gym, I'll do it walking out in the area. Why am
Okay.
I doing that? Number one, to challenge myself every day, to not be complacent. Number two, that's just the athlete in me. I always want to continue to move. throughout the rest of my life till I can't move no more.
Gotcha.
Right? I've done triathlons. I've biked 30 miles and all those kind of things. That's the kind of stuff I used to do. But it's just something about the physical challenge that now as I'm getting older, it also helped me with the mental challenge,
Gotcha.
right? And that's what I would share with I share that with young men. And when I say young men, teenagers
Yeah.
all the way up until, young adults. And then also sharing with older men, middle-aged men that we can definitely use our life experiences to continue to help ourselves. As long as you got that sunshine, that means you have more time on the clock.
Yeah.
Now, you have to really decide on how intentional you want to be about getting better. And that's what I really am about. So the personal development, I work on that, meaning I pump positive things into me every day,
Okay.
especially in the morning. Doing those lunges, I do them, it burns, but it helps me to mentally overcome things I need to overcome, rather if it's working on my business, rather if it's figuring out how I'm going to continue to get revenue in this aspect of things, or if it's something I'm dealing with in a relationship. And I'm not just talking about just romantic
Yeah. Yeah.
relationships, but it could be with my kids, it could be with whatever life is going on, right? I still use all those athletic and competitive experiences in life that I've been grateful to be involved in to continue to help me as a 45-year-old man to win everything.
So what motivates you?
As far as be a little more specific.
Just life, man. Just like when you okay, when because you mentioned the revenue, and that's all of us that are in business for ourselves,
Hmm.
and we know we don't have a check coming in on the 1st and the 15th. Like
Hmm.
clockwork, we gotta go get it. And so in them times where it might get low or you see the bills piling up, because you mentioned that earlier, like, what what gives you that kick to keep pushing when times get tough?
There are a few things about just being vulnerable with you, man. Number one, as I move to this next chapter, I've already starting to reinvent myself as Sir Bryant, the businessman.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm always be Coach Frank, even when he is coming up. Whenever my home going is, somebody's gonna say something about Coach Frank.
Yeah.
Right? That title will never leave. As I learn so much about business and being able to impact communities around the world. Right? So that's what motivates me on that aspect of things. I'm not just confined to one school community or one community. Now I'm speaking on stages around the world. I'm impacting youth. Just doing some work with Employ BR and also
Okay.
the Tri Parish, Louisiana Works area.
Okay.
Looking to do some things with them this summer. So reinventing myself as Sir Bryant, the businessman, is one motivation. Right? I'm in a new relationship. So that's a motivation, right? To be able to not only support, love, and show her the type of man I am, but to be able to do that at this age and dealing with
Yeah.
life that has happened for me, not to me, right? And then also, I'll tell you this, uh, stand on the personal side of it. I have two kids that for the majority of their life, they only knew me as a teacher and a coach.
Okay.
And it still is different for them not see me going to a school every day.
Okay.
They don't that's all they know. So what am I showing them? I'm showing them like, "Hey, man, you can pivot in life sometimes. You don't always have to be confined to this one path and stay with what the majority of society is saying you have to do.
Gotcha.
It don't work like that." And instead of me having to tell them that, now they able to see it,
See you. Yeah.
right? So my son never saw me play football. All my tapes and stuff, there was no YouTube, obviously. He's met a lot of teammates or people in New Orleans that say, "Hey, man, your dad was this, and that." But, for kids these days, if they don't see it with their eyes, they have a certain belief. Let's just say that,
Yeah.
right? So I said, "Hey, I understand it does. It's painful sometimes. I can't pull up a
Yeah.
deal and show my kid, but all right, at least I can show him, how to be a dad at that point in time, and he'll still see me being a supportive partner. And now he'll see me. I have him and my daughter. They'll see me go through some challenges because I'm starting over." Right? And then the last thing, Eric, is what motivates me, man, is to just, I'm always going to be interested in helping to develop people. I'm always interested in it, right? So now I want to see how can I do it in a different way without a whistle
Okay.
and without a and without a dry erase board solving equation. How can I do it in a different way and it's in a different place? So again, man, honestly, I'm in a different chapter of my life. It is it can be frightening sometimes. It can be exciting a lot of times. But what motivates me is just every day to know that I got some people depending on me. I'm reinventing myself to a new vision that I see, and just being able to continue to impact and develop people.
Okay. So look, we're gonna transition to F-42, but I want to ask one question real
Hmm.
quick, which I think would be a good segue. And I'm asking these questions because, again, in dealing with young people, I think sometimes because let me go back. So the reason I laugh when you said getting out of the mud, um, one of my kids they just be saying stuff. So
Hmm.
they made that statement one time, and I was like, "Bro, what is you talking about?"
Yeah.
And then, like in the conversation, I don't know if my son said it or one of my daughters said it, but I know in the conversation that my daughter started quoting a "It Be a Young Boy" song
All right.
and how she just felt it all in her spirit. And I think some of the song, I mean, I haven't listened to any of the song, but I think some of the words of the song had to do with how he had to climb out of his grandmother's, because she played the song. I'm out of his grandfather's window or something like that. I don't know what, but like that passage right there, I was like, come on, man. You ain't never had to live like that. So I'm saying that because I think there's a reality that there are kids that grew up way different from what we grew up,
Hmm.
and they got some real challenges. And so I think it's important, regardless of where a child grows up, to understand that you're gonna have challenges in life, and you got to be able to. Sometimes you got to be able to motivate yourself. Mom and daddy not gonna be able to pull you along sometimes, and so you got
Yep.
to find it within yourself sometimes. And so my question on that, to make the segue, is like, at this point in your life, what do you feel has been the greatest challenge that you've experienced, professionally or personally?
I think I would be limiting myself if I just chose one.
Okay,
Uh, and, I know we're having a conversation. I won't elaborate too long, but uh, I'll just say this: two things that I couldn't control and I had to deal with. I had to assess it. First, I had to embrace it. I had to
okay,
assess it, adapt, and adjust. Number one, man, was like I said, Hurricane Katrina. You live somewhere for 25 years of your life. I mean, obviously going to school, it's a detour, but you always knew where home was. You always knew where home base was, right? No matter what. And I'm blessed that I was able to start over and have my life, and we didn't really lose anyone in our family.
okay,
But what was so important to us at the end of the day, and I'm not just talking about the people in my household. I'm not just talking about my mom and dad and sister. I'm talking about that village. Man, we saw each other, if not every day, every other day.
yeah,
So to have that broken up, some of us still deal with, you know, losing homes that you had so many moments and memories in,
yeah,
right? So that was a big challenge for me, man. And at 25 years old, I tried to get all the materialistic things that I had in my closet. To be frank with you, I tried to get them all back when I got to Dallas.
gotcha,
I went to KNG and went to different places to try to. That was the way I knew how to
yeah,
cope with it. You know what I'm saying? But again, that experience exposed me to some other things, allowed me to get into of teaching and coaching a
okay,
little more. So because that happened for me, and I'm just speaking for me, I can't speak on
yeah,
anybody else, but because that happened for me, I was able to do some other great things, some
okay,
other things happened in my life. The second biggest challenge, man, was, just kind of probably for your adult listeners, is going through that divorce. I ain't get married to get divorced,
yeah,
and not to get into the details, but again, I'm an effort guy, right? So the gratification for me is just being able to know that someone appreciates my effort. And to have that kinda taken away from you, man, and you got 2 kids and I've lived through a divorce myself as a teenager, right? I know what that effect could be.
Yeah.
And then you see it in the classrooms and, the kids that you coach and, so you worry about your kids. And it's like that happened. Honestly, Eric, I can tell you, man, at 25 and at, 43, those different types of pain, wishing on it.
Yeah. No, I hear it. I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a challenge, but again, man, look, I had to go through those
Yeah.
things, right? Because honestly, if I don't, eh, I look at it like this: if I don't go through Katrina, do I ever move to Dallas, Fort Worth area, and get access to some things as an educator that I didn't have
Gotcha.
access to teaching in New Orleans,
Yeah.
right? If I don't go through that divorce, do I take the chance to start my own business and that 42 empowerment and meet, connect with now my partner who we've been knowing each other since we were 9 or 10 years old. So what do I do with that? I share with young people and listeners and people at workshops and the young men that I coach on the Beyond the Edge framework. When you have challenges, you have to be able to find a group of people that can be positive into your life. Try to find you some routines that you can develop that will not only challenge you, but keep you stretching yourself to be able to achieve some daily small wins. And then also being able to, the 3 A's is what I call them: assess, adapt, and adjust.
Okay. All right. So where did the name F-42 come from?
So remember I talked about the recruiting story, right?
Yeah.
So my guy, man, my brother, uh, and I call him my brother because man, we've been through so many things coming from New Orleans, being at Langston University. Gerald Campbell, man, he saw me speaking as I talked about early on
Okay.
at a school in the Dallas Fort Worth area. He saw me on Instagram. He was like, "Man, look, I like what you're doing. That's something different. It's good, man. You're doing a real good job." He said, "Man, you're taking off. That's F-42 right there." I had, I had an LLC,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't it wasn't something I could probably build a reputable brand,
Yeah. Okay.
right? And I was like, "Gee, man, what you talking about?" He was like, "Man, that's you, Frank." That's what my peers call me. Obviously, the F is for Franklin, my
Okay.
last name, and then the 42 was my college jersey number
Okay.
at Langston. So I played free safety. Ronnie Lott was the guy I looked up to,
Yeah.
and my college coach was Terry Kennard, played for the New York Giants
Okay.
at Clemson, and he wore 43. So when I got there, he didn't want me to wear 43, but obviously, man, having a coach that saw some vision in me, and he was like, "Man, you got a chance." I'm not saying it's going to happen for you, but what you showing me as a freshman, you got a chance to do some things. So,
Okay.
long story short, man, my boy, man, Gerald Campbell, he was just saying it's like you're taking off. He put it to more of the Ron
Yeah.
Eagle from 35 soaring, and from there, man, I just ran with it.
So talk to us about that journey and, being a business leader and
Mhm.
making that whole transition. Like what's that process been like?
I mean, it's exciting. It's it's definitely exciting from the sense of every day when I wake up, right? If I'm going to my part time job or not at the Baton Rouge Airport, I know that there I'm gonna be working on F-42,
Okay.
right? And then, being able to learn business principles, right? Because for business owners who, um, if you're an entrepreneur and it's your first time doing this, whatever you're doing from a product standpoint or service, that's probably the easy part. But it's all the other hats, as I read the E Myth book about being an entrepreneur, the technician, and
Yeah.
the manager. You know? And that's what I'm learning from a business aspect of things. That's why so many businesses fail, is because some people have their sight on just the product or the service that they're offering, but you really don't take time to learn all the other back end things, have to develop a team and all those things. So It's exciting. It's an opportunity for me to continue to be a lifelong learner, and it's still gratifying in the sense of, when I'm on stage or when I'm coaching, one-on-one coaching with my Beyond the Edge man coaching program or, um, you know, doing a workshop with Beyond the Edge framework, eight-part series, and the audience and the participants, they give you feedback and they come up to you and tell you, just certain things of how that window of time was affected them.
So let's talk about that Beyond the Edge piece,
Mhm.
that program. Just kind of give us a inside view into
Yeah.
what it's like.
So I'll tell you this, man, you'll like this and your listeners as far as the young people with the BR STEM. One young man who's in the Beyond the Edge one-on-one coaching program, he's a second year, second semester mechanical engineer student at
Okay.
Texas A&M University.
Okay.
Now he's from New Orleans. Uh, his dad is incarcerated. His mom is raising him and his twin brother, and they are Passe scholars. And they both
What's the process called?
So Passe is an organization, national organization, but they have a chapter in New Orleans,
Okay.
and they work with at-risk youth with developing them for secondary and
Got
post-secondary
okay.
success. And he was able to gain a scholarship, man, to go to Texas A&M University as a mechanical engineer. It's
Nice.
amazing. So you and I know, like that's kind of top tip. That's not for a normal person aspect, right? So met this young man last summer by way of my lady working at the school where she works at. She shared with another young man that, hey, my partner does some coaching, and he turned me on to one of his colleagues. So, nevertheless, right now, this young man, we've gone about 15 sessions, right? And they're, obviously they've been virtual. But one thing that his goal was, Coach, I want to give me an internship
Gotcha.
for the spring. So I said, cool. He said, man, they're going to be, some career fairs on campus and things of that nature. And he's like, Coach, I don't know what to wear. So we did a module on dress, right? But the way I broke it up, Eric, was I showed him formal,
Yeah.
like I did. So obviously being a teacher, when I'm doing these one-on-one coaching, I use my
Yeah.
building strategies and all that. So nevertheless, man, we did a module on formal, formal, business casual. And he went out and bought him a suit. He said, Coach, man, I felt so confident going into that career fair. I said, that's great, man. I said, well, how did it go? He said, well, I had my resume and I gave it to him, but I really didn't know what to say. I said, okay. So we did a module on how to tell your story and introduce yourself, right? And then we did within that module, just some communication as far as some basic networking,
Yeah.
right? Because that's one thing I've learned about our young people, man, is that uh, they believe that they can do everything on their own. I mean, I'm like, hey, even if you do become an entrepreneur, you're not gonna be able to do everything on your own.
Self-made millionaires. Even though Tupac said it, ain't no self-made
Right.
millionaires.
So I had to learn that,
Yeah.
but at the same time, within that framework, I teach them intentionally how to network. What do I mean by that? Well, when you receive someone's card, now if you got a place where there's 100 people,
Yeah.
you're gonna just get the call, hey man, nice to meet you. Introduce yourself. But if you're in a more intimate space where it's at a smaller gathering and you can have conversation with someone to find out where that could possibly go, you can do that. But nevertheless, I showed him how to create an email template, right? So if Eric, if you gave me your card and I took it and we were just in passing because of where we were, I would email you back. Hey, I'm Daron Franklin. Eric, we met. We talked about this. You also told me to ask you if I needed anything. Well, hey, you mentioned that. Here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what I need help with. So I showed him how to do that, right? In the email template. How many young people, and it wasn't surprising to me that he didn't know how to do that,
Yeah.
but his comment was, Coach, I never thought about it.
So let's peel back this onion a little bit, bro. And so I'm gonna confess, you taught me something. So when we go back to him preparing for the career fair and not
Mhm.
knowing how to dress and like the way you broke that down for him. And I'm gonna just be transparent with you. Sometimes I get a little frustrated, um, because it seems like from the times when we were in school, like
Mhm.
something has changed, and I don't know exactly what it is. And so I'll give you the example that I always use. Um, but so we just take the home light. upbringing out of it.
Mhm.
Um, I think when I was in school at Southern, we had like the career center and a lot of things that you're talking about, that would happen within that. Like, but now it was up on you to go.
Yeah.
Like the resource was there, but you had to, follow
Mhm.
through on it. And so I guess I've been trying to figure out if like we don't have career centers anymore, or it's just more and more kids, like you say, feel like they can figure the stuff on their own and not taking that advice. Um, but when you shared that, I think my criticalness of it went away because I realized there's lot of young people in that very same situation.
They don't know.
They just literally don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, I'm coming to realize, I don't think a lot of it is his, and I'm just going to use air quotes with arrogance and the social media thing. They just don't know. And so, why do you think that is the question? Because because we'll quickly blame it on social media and they want to learn everything from TikTok. But like, that just seems like there's some innate interpersonal skills that like more and more our young people are lacking. And I don't say that as a criticism. It's just an observation that's there. And a lot of times it disturbs me.
All right. So listen, now that we talking about that, remember I spoke to you about I knew I could do more.
Yeah.
Like that teaching had become boring.
You said it become boring?
It had become boring.
Okay.
Again, from a coaching aspect, I had reached the pinnacle. And then I went back in the classroom after being athletic director and
Uh-huh.
taught Algebra 1.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm used to solving different kind of problems. Now I'm back at square one and nothing changed with the kids.
Gotcha.
It's still Algebra 1. But I'm saying that to say this. Look, I realized this in my early 30s when I was teaching. And it'll make sense to you. And I'm interested to hear your opinion about it. It's not the social society is different for our kids
Yeah.
than when you and I grew up. We understand that. All right. If you are anyone that's interested in progressing in life, you just gonna have to. You don't have to agree with society, but you might want to learn how to embrace
Yeah.
it because it's changing. It's always gonna change, and if you don't change and adapt, assess, adapt, and adjust, you're gonna be stuck
Yeah.
and left out. Okay, so I'm saying that to say the career centers are still there. Had a conversation with Southern, had a conversation with Alcorn about coming in to do this
Yeah.
kind of work. But this is where I feel like I'm unique with F42 empowerment as far as personal development, professional development, because I work with males ages 17 to 29 who are determined to be successful. Together, we create personal success strategies to overcome doubt, defeat fear, and eliminate procrastination. All right. Where did I get all that from? The young people that are going into the workforce that are taking the gap of the baby boomers who are
Yeah.
leaving,
Yep.
those were my students
Okay.
over the last 20 years. So what did I notice? I noticed the change. When you and I went to school, we learned academically, but we also learned many social
Yeah.
skills. Because the reason why we learned so many social skills, because our teachers were the first or second descendants of the people who built America from an industrial aspect.
Yeah.
Right? So what did they teach us? Hard work, go to school so you can get a job. Because that's what they had been taught.
Yeah.
Because that's what the need was. America's already built now. Our young people understand that. So some of our educational aspect of things are still trying to force the
Gotcha.
industrialized mindset on them.
Now that's the first time I'm telling you, you're the first person that has articulated it in that manner.
Because I've been in the classrooms with them. Because I learned from them. I listen to them. I give them a chance to express themselves. They don't say what I said, but I'm smart enough. And I'm also, you and I are at the age where we can relate to the baby boomers because that's our parents.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a certain work ethic. But then if we dealing with young people and you really trying to impact young people, you better learn what they trying to teach you. They may not be able to communicate it, but they're teaching you something. So I'm in the middle. But once I figured that out, I was like, it's not that they don't work hard. It's just that we have a different aspect about what work ethic is because we was taught by the people who built America.
Yeah.
Going to see your comment there. What I found is this. The socialization, the social skills that you gain from school, gone. And it's not the kids' fault. They got to take a test every other day. And the people that's giving the test feel like that's the only way you could determine if somebody learns. Their job's on the line, per se. They ain't going to kick no teachers off. As long as you don't touch kids or steal money, you're going to have a job.
Say that again.
If you're a teacher listening to this, I'm not telling you to be complacent, but from someone that's been teaching over 20 years, I used to tell my staff members this when I was the head coach. Look, bro, don't touch kids and don't steal money. I don't care how bad of a teacher you are.
You good.
You're going to find a place to better teach because they don't have enough. So don't feel like you have to have this so much pressure to where you can't pour into these kids outside of just giving them education. Knock it off. They ain't going to just fire you because you don't meet the expectations and scores. And if they do, the school around the corner, they'll hire you.
Now that was powerful. When we come back for part 2 of this episode, we will learn more from Coach Frank on how to focus on making an impact with the youth we serve. Join us for part 2 of this powerful episode with Coach Daron Franklin of F42 Empowerment.